So this is a rendering, a narrative version of an interview that happened with Richard, Rosita, Antonia, and Benny, quotes dad, Barrios. And it happened on December 12th in 1994. Moses Morrow was the interviewer, and M.B. Hanrahan videotaping. And Suzanne Lawrence is the transcriber who took the word-for-word interview and created this narrative rendering. We're starting off with the voice of Dad, Benny Barrios. I went to the Hill School. There were a couple of houses up the steps to the school. The Rangels used to live there. The Carmonas married into the Rangels. Sanchez lived right as you go up the little walk. I ended up at Plaza School on Santa Clara Street across from the park. I only went to the 5th grade. Leo Olivas used to sell tacos and enchiladas in the corner as you go up those steps. He had a little tent, a place where you could sit maybe a half a dozen people. We used to eat there all the time, eat a plate of beans and French bread. It was good. The county garage was on Palm Street, the old livery. The foreman was Art Lovat. He had 3 daughters and a son. Richard, Oliver Reardon's place, was down from the old mission next to Dr. Bianchi's house, and he was from Guatemala. The old steam laundry, everyone waited for the whistle to tell the time. Across the street was a Chinese store, that National Market. We used to drink beer in the back of the National Market. There used to be some steps to go down, like a little porch, and we'd sit on the porch or go right close to the door. Whenever we wanted a beer, we'd just get up and walk to the store and go get a beer and walk out with it. They were really nice. In them times, you could do that, They weren't close on you. They were happy to see you. You could grab a soda, grab a beer. There weren't many Chinese people around, but there was a restaurant down on Main Street, and the owner was named Toy, and they had the laundry and maybe half a dozen people living there. That's where the steps are to go up to the cross. And then we have Richard speaking. And then there was Mr. Wong. Everyone was scared of him when they were kids. He had fingernails that looked long, looked like pencils. There was a Chinese laundry right in that section. I remember getting out of school and passing right through there, and I would look in, and there was these little Chinese people in there. Dad worked 30 years for Ventura Roofing. He was the only one in the community to have a Model T Ford, one of the very first ones. Antonia. I was a velaijo. It's uncommon. I was born in Mexico, but I came at the age of 6, right to Ventura. I never have moved. My relations lived here, so we came to them. When I came, they didn't have electricity, just those fancy old-fashioned lamps. We were picking lemons when we were just 8 or 9 years old. We worked in Powers, down the avenue. They were building a lot of houses around 1929. There were fields of nothing before then. They offered us a field for $100, $200, but I said, who wants it? I wish I had them now. I'd be rich. All the buildings was right there. I became a packer at Barnard Packing House, and from there I moved to the coastal packing. I worked there many years. Rosita. Anything that crossed the tracks was tortilla flats. We lived on West Mita, and the whole Barron family were born in that house, all of us except for Pauline's girl. We all were a couple of years apart. None of us went to kindergarten. We went to Holy Cross Catholic School, 1st grade, until graduation, and all my kids went to Holy Cross and graduated from there. There was nothing else but nuns. I still have the report cards. I made my confirmation. I got a ruler. Mita started up by Cabrillo, the high school at the east end of town, and it went to where you couldn't go any further, by Solid Bowl Curve. Our house was by the open field toward the tracks. Two little old ladies lived there, the Bowmans and then the Vallardes. So what that means is we were number 4 from Olive Street. It ran parallel with Brooks all the way down as far as the trailer park where Shore Acres was. And after Shore Acres, you hit the river bottom. Front Street ended at Shore Acres as well. The community where we lived was really nice because everybody knew everybody. In front of the Shore Acres trailer park was the Shore Acres Market, and at that time there wasn't television, and so we would go there and watch movies. It wasn't a movie house, it was just some chairs, and they would put out this big, it looked like a blanket or a white sheet, and everybody would just sit around behind the store and watch the movies. Old movies, silent movies. Dad. There was a little seaside park where they played ball, skated, and they used to do everything there. Where the fairgrounds are, they had a racetrack and with that, baseball stadium. Before that, it was nothing but a park with tables for picnics. Johnny Barrios used to walk the racing horses, and the one time they had a ring there where they used to box. The old timers, way back. During World War II, there was an army camp, and I used to shine shoes for 5 cents. I had my own box and everything. Richard. There was a vacant lot on Garden Street, and the Ringling Brothers used to come there, and the carnival. I seen Dillinger's car there, big windows on it, and it said Dillinger. The Hobson Slaughterhouse was on Santa Clara at the corner of Olive Street, and just a little further, there was a horse stable. You could get a horse for maybe 20 cents an hour, and we'd go to the river mouth or the ocean, Hobo Jungle. If we had the money, we'd go riding. Hobo Jungle was part of our fun. We'd go there, and we'd have hobo stew. They were nice guys. They would get off a train and maybe stay a month or so, and if they liked it, and then they'd go to another place. That's where we used to play all the time. We had the river, the ocean. When we had a chance, that's all we did, swim and play and fish. It was the part of every day. My dad fished right out of the ocean, clam digging, every day. They used to call us the river rats, laughing. Other people say that they're river rats because they used to go to the river bottom, all the way down from California Street they'd come, and swim with the boys that lived in the Tortilla Flats. But we were all friends. One time, the river flooded, and there was pigs, chickens, everything floating all over the place, and the owners were trying to catch the pigs. I thought it was funny. Antonia. I remember when the river overflowed, they had to take me out piggyback, and my kids, water clear up to the porch. And we had snow once. I had never seen snow before. Dickie was always down at the river bottom. One time he played hooky for a whole week. The sister called, "Richard hasn't been in school. Is he sick?" Oh boy, I gave him a beating. Sister Bernardus said, "How could you lie to your mother, Dickie? Richard, kneel down and kiss your mother's hand." I didn't laugh. I was so mad. Here I was making lunch for him, and he'd tell me, "Oh, I get so hungry in school. 2 sandwiches isn't enough." And I'd say, "Oh, I'll put in 4. And I'm thinking, "Oh, poor Dickie. He just likes to eat a lot." Richard. And I'd just take off. See, I had a raft over there. My dad was a roofer, and, those ties that they have for the railroad tracks. I took them, and little by little I added boards, and then I had this pretty big raft, almost as big as a room. The river was big at that time. It was wide. I knew a lot of girls from the trailers and guys, and we used to get on that raft and kick back, and if we saw somebody coming, we'd just go between the tulies, and they couldn't see us. At night, we'd put the raft in there and tie it down good. We had that raft for us alone. She caught me one day, though. I was a stock boy at the New York store on Main Street, and she came in to pick up the check, and they said, "What? He hasn't worked in the last 2 weeks." "What?" she said, and she slapped me right there in front of everybody. Antonia. Oh, I was so mad. He runs into the house and gets under the bed, And I went in there and got a broom and I yelled out, "Get out of there." It's just like killing a rat. Richard. I hung around with the older guys, my brother's age. They didn't want me to go with them, but I did. They used to go swimming in a place they called Big Rock by Foster Park. There were big rocks and swimming holes and a cliff to dive off of. It must have been 17 feet high. You had to dive shallow or you'd hit a rock. Some of the guys were Gilbert Salcido, Herbie, Raymond was maybe a year older, Vincent Lara, Jesse Castillo, Gallito. All the Diaz were older than I was. Heine's Pool Hall? I hung out there for years. That's where I learned to play pool. My dad took me there when I was a baby. He took me in the stroller. Rosita. I was like Dickie. I didn't have any friends around my age. They were all older. I hung around with May and Dorothy Lorenzana, Tessa Tavares, Baby Elwell, and then we went to the teen time. I wasn't even a teenager, and they would sneak me in there. And there we have it for the Barrios family. Let's see if I can find something else to read.